Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting back to order. I'll ask Madam Clerk for a roll call, please.
Ms. Hodges, absent. Mr. Mills?
Here.
Mr. Oden?
Here.
Ms. Rose Spurgeon?
Here.
Mr. Kleindienst?
Here. If you'll all please rise for the flag salute. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Color guard, prepare to advance. Advance. Will you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready? Begin. Color guard, prepare to post colors. Post colors. Color guard salute. 2. Color guard regroup. Color guard dismissed.
Thank you. Tonight's invocation is by Father Andrew Green, of the Church of St. Paul in the Desert. Andrew, welcome and thank you for coming down tonight.
I have to say it's nice to be here when I don't have any particular beef or gripe. But mindful of this week and particularly the 4th of July coming up, when I get to these kind of occasions, I often spend a little time on the internet and pulled out the Declaration of Independence, which we celebrate on the 4th. And frankly, I'd say for almost any elected official, we all should be scared to death when we read that. We celebrate it, we rejoice in it, but it's also something that is of great challenge to each of us, to council members, school board members, to all of our elected officials, because it reminds us of a time in our country's history when folks decided they didn't need to do it the way they'd always done it before. There's an initial paragraph: we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, government are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it. Now, I'm not saying this because I have any particular gripe or anything, and I want you to think that you should be afraid in particular. But it's anybody that sits in that role of responsibility has that to always look back. And so it's amazing when we see elected officials, our president, doing things to celebrate this. Sometimes it's something we need to be more mindful of. Our country is one that decided there was no special class or race of leaders that would be in charge, but that from among all of the different classes and sorts of people who were governed in this country, leadership would emerge. Sometimes we look back and we think that we wish we had leaders like there were at that first Continental Congress, or the folks who wrote it. Having read recently a number of books and articles about that time, their times were no more confused or with conflict than ours. My prayer tonight is that our whole community would gather together and remember that as a people, it's our responsibility to be the ones that provide our government, and that all of us who sit in that role, selected by our voters and our constituents, need to remember that the role that we sit in is one that does not have, that's not obvious, that if we don't pay attention, it's easy to forget why we're there. And for us who are voters, it's easy to forget that it all comes down to us and is our responsibility. So I invite you and all of our community to celebrate this 4th of July and to remember. Look back at the Declaration of Independence. Look at how long it took to write. Read what's in it and remember. And then never forget. Amen.
Thank you, Andrew. Tonight we have a presentation before the council. It is a swearing in of a new police officer. I'll bring to the podium Police Chief Gary Gendron. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I have a special presentation for our city tonight. I will be swearing in a new police officer, Ray Dallas, and the 100 Club will be presenting the officer with a bulletproof vest. But we also have a special guest of the Palm Springs Police Officer Association and the 100 Club who will make the actual vest presentation. As you know, in 1961, Palm Springs Police Officer Gail Elridge was shot and killed in the line of duty while apprehending a robbery suspect. He was 32 years old at the time, and he left behind a wife and 3 children. Our special guest is Kathy Leo, the granddaughter to Officer Elridge. This is going to be obviously a very meaningful presentation for the 100 Club and our Police Officer Association and Kathy. She is here with her boyfriend, Terry Bluowski, or something similar to that. You know your name. Who incidentally is a Michigan State police officer, state trooper, and her sister-in-law, Kimberly Lapham. Let me begin by introducing our new police officer, Ray Dallas. If you could come forward, Ray. You get to stand right in the middle. She began working for us this week as a full-time police officer. Prior to becoming a police officer, she worked with the Child Protective Services, and while working full-time, she put herself through the San Bernardino Extended Police Academy at no cost to the city. She was the president of her class, and I think academically she was way up there, if not number 1 academically. Ray is familiar with our department, not only because she is married to a long-time police officer, Barry Dallas, but she's been a reserve officer with us for the last 7 years, and it's always rewarding to promote a reserve officer to regular within our department. With her tonight is her husband, Barry, and where is Barry Dallas? Her children, Sierra, 10 years old, Zachary, 15, Barry's stepson, Chris, back there with his family, Mandy, Tristan, and Griffin. Ray's sister, Rhonda, did she make it? Right there. Nephew, Jonathan, right over here. And I don't have time to introduce all the rest of her friends and family that are here. So let's begin the swearing in. So, Ray, if you could face me, raise your right hand. I, state your name, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, and I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter. Congratulations, our new police officer, Ray Dallas. Don't go away. We have I'd like to invite up the executive director of the 100 Club, Mike McCullough, and the president of the 100 Club, Jim Francisco. The 100 Club was founded in Palm Springs in part because of the tragic loss of Officer Elridge. The club was started to help families of officers killed in the line of duty, but since the state and the federal government provide the assistance, the 100 Club recognized they were duplicating services. In 1998, under the leadership of then president of the club, Mike McCullough, he just changed the purpose of the club and modified it to provide bulletproof vests to our police officers and biohazard protection jackets to the firefighters. I would now like to invite Kathy and Kimberly to come up to do the presentation of the bulletproof vest to our new officer. And now you have to stand there for your pictures. And with that, council will go across the street to our traditional...
Party, I know.
Yeah, okay. And I'm going to leave you Commander Hall. He'll be the Sergeant of Arms, and I'll be back within about 30 minutes or so. So thank you very much, council.
And I'll turn to the city clerk for a report on the posting of the agenda, please. Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the agenda you have before you was posted in accordance with council procedures last Friday. Tonight, the city manager is withdrawing item 17. In addition, item number 22 on your agenda, the council will be requested to continue that matter to July the 30th at a special meeting.
And Mr. Mayor, if I could, on number 17, that will be withdrawn. We will bring that back to the next city council meeting. And if I could ask the city attorney to give an explanation on the reason for withdrawing number 17.
Thank you, Mr. Reddy. Mr. Alshire?
Yes, as council is aware and has been reported, we had a conceptual settlement agreement with the owner of the El Dorado Park concerning provision of financial assistance to some of the tenants in the conversion. In trying to finalize that agreement, we had run into some disagreements in terms of how that agreement was to be structured. In discussions today, a number of those points have been resolved, and so we are in the process of trying to move that understanding to in a final form that could be presented to the council, and we don't think it is necessary to act on these ordinances at this time. We do want to hold them available in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Alshire. So, anyone here for item 17, which is on the mobile home parks, dealing with the ordinances dealing with rent, that will be withdrawn tonight and be brought forward at a future meeting. As indicated by the city attorney, the negotiations have not been completed. So if you're here for 17, it will not be heard at tonight's session, and we'll bring it up at future meetings. Item 22 is also withdrawn. Please. I know.
My name is Milton Flack. I reside at 167 Yucca Drive in the El Dorado Mobile Home Park. I'm president of the Homeowners Association. We were hopeful that the items on the agenda would be passed today. We're still hopeful that the ordinance as proposed will still be passed. We urge the city council to pass that ordinance. We feel that is most helpful not only for El Dorado in its current form, but also for other mobile home parks in Palm Springs. I would like to point out that we have not been involved in the negotiations between the city and the park owner, and I urge the mayor and the city council to instruct and urge the city attorney to include include us and our attorney in these negotiations. I think it would be most helpful and hopeful for the residents. After all, there's some 550 to 600 residents in our park who are residents of Palm Springs. And so far, as of this date, we have been completely left out of the negotiations. With that, I'll thank you very much for the time that you've extended to me.
Thank you, sir. Well, there will be public comments later on in the evening's meeting.
I would like to
I appreciate that, ma'am, but we'll try to move along with the agenda, and we'll bring up public comments at that time.
also president of the Ramon Mobile Home Park, and I wanted to speak to that also.
And again, madam, I'm going to allow you to speak during public comments. We'll now turn to our city attorney, please, for the closed session report.
Yes, the council and agency met in closed session. On the items on the closed session agenda, real property negotiations involving the Plaza Theater. This item was not discussed. Real property negotiations involving John Westman concerning the Brussels building. This was not discussed. Real property negotiations with Hanchis concerning Happy Valley. This project was also not discussed. Real property negotiations involving Jerry Johnson. This project was not discussed. Real property negotiations involving Andreas and Amato Road, Walter Family Partnership. This item was not discussed. And then the last real property item involving Prairie Schooner, real property negotiations with the tribe. We gave a status report. No action was taken. For the city of Palm Springs, real property negotiations involving Desert Water Agency and the Nichols Family Trust, the property on Tramway Road. We gave neither of these items were discussed. Concerning a litigation matter which has been filed against the city, Consolidated Services versus City of Palm Springs, we gave a status report. No action was taken. Concerning exposure to litigation in 2 cases, we gave status reports on 2 matters. No action was taken. Concerning initiation of litigation, 3 cases, we did not discuss them, nor did we discuss the labor negotiations.
Thank you, Mr. Alshire. The Housing Authority, the Finance Authority.
I'm sorry, I forgot.
Yes, sir.
On the supplemental, there was an item involving real property negotiations at Gino Autry and Ramon, Gabay. We gave a status report on that. No action was taken.
Thank you, Mr. Alshire. The Housing Authority, the Financing Authority, the Industrial Development have no business tonight. We do have business before the Community Redevelopment Agency, and with that, we will adjourn as the City Council and convene as the CRA. Members of the agency, we have no minutes for tonight's meeting, nor any public hearings. Anyone wishing to address the Community Redevelopment Agency during public comments, please come forward at this time. Those wishing to speak to the City Council will have that momentarily. Anyone wishing to have comments before the CRA? Very good, seeing none, we'll close public comments. We'll turn to our legislative calendar. Item A, the 2002-2003 fiscal year continuing appropriations. Mr. Reddy, I'll turn to you for your staff's report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What you have before you are our annual appropriations from continuing rolling them over from one fiscal year to the next. And Mr. Kennard can answer any specific questions. They are before you, and we would recommend that you approve these. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Oden.
I'll move the resolution.
Motion for approval by Mr. Oden. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Rilla Spurgeon. Thank you. Any additional comments or questions? I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Mr. Mills?
Aye.
Mr. Oden?
Aye.
Ms. Ross Spurgeon?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman?
Aye, it's 4-0. It's deemed unanimous. It completes the work of the CRA. We'll adjourn as the Community Redevelopment Agency and reconvene as the City Council. First order of business is public comments. I have a number of cards before me here. Is Joan Flack or Douglas Cultus here or Dr. Wayne McKinney?
Doug Cultus just left.
Be good seeing Dr. McKinney. Joan Flack? Go ahead, Dr. McKinney. Welcome.
My name is Dr. McKinney. I'm with the Well in the Desert. I'm not here to urinate on your desk. I'm here to thank you for
We appreciate
allowing
that, Doctor.
us.
Thank you.
I'm here to thank you for allowing us to increase our days to feeding to 5 days a week over at the Frey Building. And I want to thank you, Mr. Reddy, and I want to thank you, council members, and you, Mr. Mayor, for doing that. That was a very humane thing to do. And right now, we're seeing a very much of an increase over the past couple of weeks in people at the hot meal program and in our grocery distribution. And that's for a variety of reasons. One, the season is over and the housekeeper and groundskeepers and what have you have been laid off or had their hours cut. The kids are out of school and they're not getting that school meal. And also importantly, Southern California's annual summer unlubricated digital exam is contributing significantly to the increase in the number of people we see. So I'm just asking you to continue that humanity and consider the other requests that we have asked for to increase our services minimally over in the Prey Building. They really are desperately needed, and I asked you to favorably consider them. And I do thank you, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to address the council, please come forward, give your name to the city clerk.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is Latifa Klitzner, and I'm a mobile homeowner at Ramon Mobile Home Park. I am also very disappointed this evening. We, as seniors living under rent control in mobile homes, are most disappointed this evening. I have been here since December 8th trying to get this ordinance passed. And I recall last summer, the only council member that didn't like what happened to El Dorado was Councilman Oden. And I applaud him for that, and I know many others that do too. I think it's a travesty. We knew what happened to El Dorado, and it's like, you must care about us. Do you know that most of us are voters? Do you realize that most of the seniors that live in mobile home parks are voters? We care, we go out, we vote. We all live on fixed incomes, and everyone that I know as homeowner is very concerned that this must pass. Now, I know you've withdrawn it, but what is the future date? Can anyone tell me what the future date is when this is going to be up? Mr. Alshire or Mr. Renning? The 16th of July? And I hope you will pass it. It's imperative that you do. After what happened to El Dorado, I don't want that to happen to any other senior person living in mobile homes under rent control. It isn't fair. We've worked all our lives. We've educated our children, and this is the way we live. And this is why, when you heard the father speak, Father Andrew, go back to that Declaration of Independence. Think about what you're doing. You are here. You represent us to the city. And I think you should represent us well and think about the people who vote. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address the council during public comments?
Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of council, staff, and Trish. Once again, I'm here, as I have been since about 1960, complaining about what the city is doing to the property adjacent and behind my home. You've now come up with a new master plan or tentative master plan that shows all kind of developments, again, behind my home. You've placed a access road there, as it was supposed to be, and is now a thoroughfare, which my lot is now a double frontage lot. Try sleeping with trucks and you name it going up and down both sides of your house all day and all night. The City Council and the Planning Commission, when they approved the zone change behind my home, which was zoned O and GR when I bought, wanted to zone it airport and zone it airport right up to the R1. We held hearings and discussions, and they came up with some ideas such as an 8-foot block wall, dense landscaping, an excess road so the police cars could get gas, another dense landscaping strip, and then P1 office buildings. We now have car rental agencies repairing cars all hours of the night. We have trees that look like toothpicks, they're pruned back so bad. We have a major thoroughfare going up and down behind our house. And we have about a 5-foot landscaping strip on the other side of the street. And as I say, I've been in and out of here since 1960s discussing this. I've made an appointment with Mr. Reddy and Mr. Smoot to come out and look at the situation on the ground when Mr. Reddy first came here. No one showed up. Finally, after 2 weeks, I phoned and talked to an individual. Oh, no, we're not going to come out. We came out by ourselves and peeked over the wall. Now, how can I reach you folks? You are turning a neighborhood. You're now holding public hearings that I think are wrong. The Airport Commission held hearings. No one was notified. The Planning Commission held hearings. A little ad, I think, was put in the paper. And Al says that he was quoted in a newspaper article. But we were never notified. We were never notified. In other things that I come here and listen to, the planning department brags about, not brags, I'm sorry for that word, states how they go out in the field and actually meet with the people surrounding a piece of development, a piece of parcel. Never done it with us. No one from the city, no one, anyone, has come out and discussed our problem in the field. No one. Whoa, just in time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to address the council during public comments? Very good. Seeing no one, we'll close public comments. Council will turn to the consent calendar, items 1 through 11. Any items you wish to note your abstentions, ask questions on, or pull for a complete report, please do so at this time.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Oden.
I will be abstaining on the approval of the minutes for May 27th, and I will be abstaining from item number 7 due to proximity to my home.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Ellis Spurgeon.
I will be abstaining from the minutes of June 2nd. I will be abstaining from warrant number 989022, husband-related, and I need to abstain on item 10, and I would ask that it be separate so I can leave the room for that one, and that is due to proximity of my work. You want to deal with that one first?
Oh, let's see what the remainder are, please.
Yeah, then maybe I should leave from my...
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Mills.
I'll be abstaining on number 7 in that my residence is within, I think, 500 feet of that project.
Yeah, so we can't...
I'll be abstaining on number 10, and that I am currently doing work for Monero Smith and Associates. I will be abstaining on one warrant on 11, number 989031. And I would like item 8 pulled for a presentation.
Chris, 2.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'm abstaining on number 2 for business purposes.
All right, so with that, we have no quorum on 7 and no quorum on 10. 2 members are going to abstain and leave chamber, so we'll have to reschedule those for a future date. So if the city clerk and city manager would note that, 7 and 10 will be in fact pulled and withdrawn. 7 and 10.
So we'll take everything else first.
And Mr. Mills, you are abstaining on item 2, and you want to pull item 8, is that right, sir?
Yes.
All right, so we have a request to pull 8. And with that, let me get clarification. Mr. Mills has an issue on 2. Do we need a separate vote on his abstention? Item 2. Due to his abstention and conflict, do we need a separate vote?
Yes, you can separate that out. When it's on the consent calendar, he doesn't necessarily have to leave the room to go ahead and vote on it.
And just note his abstention.
Yes, just notes his
All right,
abstention.
matters before the council are items 1 through 6. 7 has been withdrawn, no quorum. 8 is a pull for questions by Mr. Mill. Item 9 is for full consent action, and item 10 is removed based on lack of quorum. Item 11 is, with noted abstentions, ready for action. What's the council's pleasure?
I move the consent agenda.
Motion for approval, Mr. Roden. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Rella Spurgeon. I'll ask for a roll call.
Mr. Mills?
Aye.
Mr. Oden?
Aye.
Ms. Rella Spurgeon?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor?
Aye. And again, do note Mr. Mills will be abstaining on item 2. Item 8 now is pulled at Mr. Mills' request. Mr. Mills, do you want a full staff report or just ask questions?
I would like to note any, what differences there are in the plan from what we looked at study session.
Yes, Councilman Mills, I would ask Mr. Barakian and Jerry Ogburn to come to the podium. They have the information and the plans, and I would ask them for the report. Thank you.
Gentlemen, welcome. Good evening.
Thank you. The plans I received today, the final plans for this. So I haven't been able to completely go through them, but it doesn't appear that there are major changes to what was approved. There was an elimination, or actually a breakout of some of the improvements on the east side of Palm Canyon at Tockwitz as a separate schedule in order to try to meet the budget. And I believe Jerry had a portion of the Tockwitz Canyon of the Tockwitz Canyon improvements eliminated, but the Palm Canyon improvements, I believe, are the same as you saw.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Mills. The floor is yours, sir.
Has the property owner submitted his drawings, which are, my understanding is, are to go in conjunction with the city work?
Today we got a set of drawings for the property owner's basically sidewalk work on the private property side.
Is it sidewalk? And I don't know, David, if I should be asking you or if I should be asking Jerry. Might know him a little better. So I mean, if Jerry's the right one to ask, then we should have him come up. But
okay.
Is that by default, David? Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
I think, Jerry, you know where I think you know where I'm headed.
Yes.
We talked in our study session about looking at the developer repaving that entire area so it all looks new. It all looks like it's all upgraded.
Right.
And is that what we're going to get?
No. The plans I saw today, and there's been some discussion about this, our project is complete to the property line as you reviewed it. As Mr. Barakian indicated, well, as he didn't indicate, but there was a kind of warning that we were going to go over the $450,000 budget due to a year expiring and addition of additional retaining walls for the handicapped access on the north part of the project up by the Hyatt. We deleted some items that were put in that we really didn't anticipate getting anyway, like west of the driveway behind the Bank of America building, which we didn't intend doing anyway. We cut that out. So I think we're around probably close to a $500,000 project. And so ours is pretty much, we've cut out some light fixtures and so on. But what I saw today, and I just saw the drawings today, this afternoon, basically on the private side of the property line is basically leaving the pavement, when they come in and take the trellis work down, the concrete elements down, the plan as it appears from the drawings, which are really not complete, would be to patch those areas and fill them in with the tile to match the tile that's already there. And there's a minimal amount of paver work that comes in and ties across the planter areas They are keeping some of the planters there during this phase, but it's, I would say, a relatively minimal treatment to clean it up. I suppose it's under the theory that in a couple of years he plans to tear it all up again. And we talked about the ability with pavers on a sand base to put them in now, take them up, do the demolition, and put them back down. But apparently Mr. Westman directed his engineer not to do that and to do a very minimal type of treatment. So the pavement is pretty much taking off the sawing and cutting the trellis work, bringing it back up to grade, patching with tiles to match what's there, and some interlocking pavers to match our pavers to kind of pull the two together in certain areas. We have the plans here. Again, they're not complete, but they did give a pretty good indication. As far as the other aspects of the work, the elevations, the awnings, and all that, colors have not been submitted yet, so we haven't seen anything. They should be coming in, I'm told, within the next couple of weeks.
So what we're going to end up with, based on what you have in your hands right now, is the trellis gone, all new front for parking and with landscaping within the city's footprint, a storefront that looks like it did 20 years ago, and patches of tile that don't match the tile around them because you'll never match that tile where the concrete piers were. Okay. Thank you.
Additional questions? Jerry, was the plan as we were first presented, was it the plan to simply remove the trellis and patch, or was it to put in all new walks?
Well, there was never any real discussion about it. I mean, formally, there was no commitment made, but we, during the process, talked about that this could be there 4 to 5 years, maybe, and it ought to look like it's complete. And apparently, Mr. Westman directed his engineer as he left town to produce what we have. But we certainly talked about it in the study session with you. We conveyed that message to Mr. Westman. I conveyed it a couple of times to his engineer, saying, you know, I think people are expecting this to look like a unified, completed project, and I can't honestly say that we have that.
We also aren't doing it during the summer, which is what we also said.
Well, we have adjusted our schedule a bit, shall we say. We do have a new schedule that's been submitted, which would have us completing it by November 10th, which our initial schedule said we would have it completed by October 31st, so we have slipped some. If we can award our portion of it on the 30th of this month, then Mr. Westman plans to do his demolition during August 1st through the 30th. So that'll be at least the real messy part of it will be out of the way during the probably the worst month business-wise. And then he would be constructing his improvements and we would be constructing our improvements between September 1st through November 10th simultaneously. And the problem here is nobody can really do too much until the trellis work is out of there. It's just too cumbersome.
What happens to the businesses that are there?
That he has told me that he is working with them on their schedule, and the reason we had to come up with a defined schedule is so he could, in fact, talk to his tenants intelligently. And I understand that he has done that. I haven't talked to the tenants, but I am led to believe by his staff, and I trust them, that they are working with their tenants to try to soften the blow as much as possible.
Are they going to remain open?
I don't know that. I don't know what their individual responses have been. And I think it's, you know, I know that Mr. Westman has always done a good job on everything he's done in the community, and I suspect if anybody can do this and make it look good for 3 or 4 years, he can do it. It's certainly not a complete repaving of the frontage. And as I said, we discussed that.
How many parking spaces are we going to?
38.
38.
Yeah, our project, actually, I think will look very good. It'll add 38 parking spaces. It will have 21 light fixtures, and we've already, assuming that things are going to go ahead and everything's going to work, we get the position to work to get the holiday decorations and the banners and all this. I think the first time we'll be able to tie our downtown together. So there are some positive things to it, but I feel a little ill-prepared not having seen what his elevations and so on and is going to be. We've seen some drawings that were submitted a year ago to give us some idea, but at this point I think we're going a lot on trust with Mr. Westman's history, which is good in the community as far as doing stellar work, but we just haven't seen the documentation for that at this point.
Okay. Other questions or comments? I will only suggest to you that support for this project is on the city's side of the property line, that our money is not being used on the private property. The owner of the center has his own obligations and his own plans. The improvements that we are looking at are to the benefit of the community, regardless of whether he makes a substantial change, no change, partial change, full change. The work that we're doing here will in fact be of benefit. I think just the street lights alone, the electrical service for Village Fest, for special events and otherwise is a benefit. Allowing the continuation of that which we've worked on for over a decade with regards to the planting and the lighting otherwise is a benefit. And the increase of parking that Jeannie brought up I think is a benefit. There is no, as I see it, there's no nexus between our commitment and his. We have not, at least I have not ever thought of hinging my support for this funding based on what he's doing. I had wished he'd done more, but I understand the dilemma that is facing all retailers, especially developers in retail, currently in this economy. I think it still moves us forward, and at least that leg of our work on that center will be completed. Does ours work free and independent of his by calendar and schedule? Can we expedite our side of it?
Yes, well, by the time he gets we're coincidentally finishing on the same date, at least that's what's in the schedule. We can work side by side. I mean, we've had our construction management people look at it, and once he gets the trellis work out there, if he completes his work in August like he says he is on the trellis work, then we can get all this done simultaneously. I will say that as part of this situation, Mr. Westman did pay for the engineering drawings for this. It was about $20,000 value, and basically gave them to the city for the work we're doing in the public right-of-way. The other thing he has done is, because we're all concerned that it can come in over budget, that he's agreed if our project comes in over $500,000, he will pay for the difference of up to $650,000. So he's voluntarily said he would take $150,000 exposure if the bids come in above $500,000. We budgeted $450,000. But again, with the additional handicapped access ramps and a year's worth of inflation, we fear that it may actually come in at a little over $450,000 or somewhere. But,
is the work being done by separate contracts, or is it one contract, city and private developer?
No, ours would be put out for bid. His would be done by whoever he selects.
Legal question. Is the developer able to bid on this project if we are providing the funds towards it, or is it a 1090?
Well, we don't have an agreement with him at this point. So he or his contractor could be a bidder in the project. I want to also point out that the understanding that Jerry said that exists with Mr. Westman to provide additional funding is not documented by any enforceable agreement at this point.
Yes, all we have is a letter, which I again got today.
Have you seen the letter, David?
No.
It's right there.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Mills.
I am going to support this and only for one reason, and that is that Mr. Westman has a history in this city of always doing a good job, always doing what he says he's going to do. If it weren't Mr. Westman, I would not be supporting this. So I'll move the motion.
Second.
Motion for
With the
approval by
minute
Mr. Mills and second by Ms. Rella Spurgeon. Any additional comments? $600,000. Roll call, please.
Mr. Mills?
Aye.
Mr. Oden?
Aye.
Ms. Rose Spurgeon?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor?
Aye. 4-0, it's unanimous. There are no further extended consent items. We'll now turn to our public hearing. First item is item 12. Item 12 is the Airport Master Plan Update, CS 5.0438. I will note for the record that based on an FPPC ruling, I have a conflict of interest based on my business, and I will be abstaining from this issue, passing the gavel to Mayor Pro Tem and leaving chamber. Mr. Oden, the floor is yours.
Item number 12, Airport Master Plan Update. This is a public hearing. Staff report, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. What we'd like this evening is actually we have two reports, one from planning and one from the director of the airports. First, we'd like to start with the planning components, and for that, we'll have Doug Evans, and then we'll move into Mr. Smoot at the airports. Thank you. Doug?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This is an item that's been before the Planning Commission and the Airports Commission. The Planning Commission recommends that the City Council approve the filing of a negative declaration for environmental impact, as well as approve the master plan update. You have resolutions in your packet to those effects. The Planning Commission went through several workshops in looking at this in May. They spent some time with the airport team, asking questions, looking at the issues, and at their public meeting, public hearing, they voted 7-0 to approve the master plan update. This is an update of the 1994 plan, at which time the city conducted a full environmental analysis and EIR, and what we did was we very carefully looked at those issues as well as any new issues that were created by the project, and we did not identify any new significant environmental impacts for the airport project. From the standpoint of general plan consistency, the Planning Commission found that the airport master plan is consistent with the city's general plan, its general plan EIR, and zoning regulations, and that was part of their review to make sure that the airport master plan fit the overall goals and objectives of the community. There has been an issue about noticing on this item, and I just like to tell the council what we did. We put the legal notice in the newspaper with a 1/8 page ad. There was some additional information relative to press throughout the planning process. Al Smoot will go over the Airport Master Plan Committee, but that had various members of the community represented. And I think when you take a look at the improvements to the airport that are proposed in this master plan, they're consistent with what the community is familiar with. We didn't make any real substantial changes. From the standpoint of what state law says relative to noticing, if you're going to notice more than 1,000 individual properties, you can go to a 1/8 page ad. This city has done that consistently, sending out around the airport, considering the size of the airport. If we notified everybody within 400 feet, we would have a very sizable mailing, and that's why we went with the 1/8 page ad. Subsequent to public comments a while back and phone calls from Mr. Stone, we did deliver copies of all the documents and notices to Mr. Stone. We do understand his concern. I think most of his concern is probably not master plan driven. It's probably project driven and improvement driven and project oriented insofar as trying to deal with the transition between the residential neighborhood, the street, and then the rental car companies north of his property. That completes our overview. Al Smoot will give you an overview of the actual plan and show you some of the exhibits.
Thank you, Doug. Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'd like to give you a quick rundown of the process we went through and then a quick rundown of what is in the updated plan. And again, this is an update to the plan which was approved in 1995 for the airport, which was also approved by the voters in 1995. The update of the master plan, or a master plan, is probably the most important function that I, as your airport director, try to carry out and keep in an active form and up to date with industry standards, because it's how we gain money from the FAA. The FAA specifies that every 5 to 7 years the airport needs to redo its master plan, and so we're in that cycle. We began this process in October of 2000, and it's taken us almost 3 years to get to this point with it. We would have been like to have completed this in about 18 months, but unfortunately, the events of September 11th, 2001 made us almost begin the process over again, so we made sure that we were evaluating the security changes that were happening throughout the country. In order to ensure that we had lots of citizenry input in this, we went through the same process that we've gone through in the past, and we formed a citizens planning advisory group. That planning advisory group worked with the consultants from day one, had 5 separate meetings with the consultant as we were putting the plan together, so that we would be receiving input from them as we went through the process. We also held 4 evening meetings for the general public to come in and see as we went through the process what was being developed. Those meetings were noticed with half-page ads in the newspaper run several times before each meeting, and we did have quite a bit of response from the public to come at those meetings. Mr. Stone, who spoke to you earlier, does have some concerns, and for that reason he was a member of the PAC, the Planning Advisory Committee. And so he was in on the process as we went through the process. We also had a member from the Barbara Track, which is in the northeast area of the airport, and we tried to get a member of the ROAR group, which was established at our last master plan. However, they no longer exist, or at least we could find no one who would say they were of that group. So we went through the processes, and after those processes, the Airport Commission as well as the Planning Commission have reviewed this, and the Airport Commission voted to approve the plan just prior to when the Planning Commission did. The document is a rather large document. You've all been provided that probably months ago now, so you'd have a chance to review it. I've also given you a summary document, and I just wanted to give you a couple of highlights from that summary. The planning horizons for this plan, again, are a short-term, medium-term, and long-term, which is 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years. We're projecting in the medium term or in the short term, we will see our passenger growth go from 600,000 to 800,000, and by the long term, 20 years from now, we expect it to be 1.3 million. The plan that is before you is proposing total expenditures over that 20-year period of about $148 million for improvements at the airport. We expect somewhere around $83 to $85 million of that to come from the federal government through grant programs. If you look inside of this document on the last set of pages, there's a development plan in there that highlights the various developments. Many of these are things that have been approved as security measures, particularly the roadway reconfiguration, which is a major project at the airport. There are no major airfield projects in this, no runway extensions, no new runways. There's no changes to the terminal complex. There are some minor airfield fixes. There is looking at ways of expanding the parking, including the possibility of parking garages in the long term, and a whole variety of other issues. One of the issues that was brought up, not only by Mr. Stone, but others of his neighborhood, were the concern of the noise from the rental car lot. Even though it's not shown in the summary document, if you were to go to the master plan document, a very specific project is shown in here in the short term, which should occur within the next 2 years, and that is the installation of the East Civic Drive noise buffer program, which will be a raising of that existing 6-foot block wall to 8 feet and a beefing of the landscaping across the back of that. That project was identified. It's by Mr. Stone as well as his neighbors through the process, and it has been included in the master plan for something that we will do as funds become available for us to do that. The other piece of an ongoing measure within the master plan is to complete the noise program that we began with our last master plan, and we will continue those processes also. Beyond that, I'd be happy to try to answer any questions after or before the public hearing, whichever the council pleasure would be.
Are there any clarifications needed by council at this point? Then we will open the public hearing at this point. Anyone wishing to speak in the public hearing, please come down to the mic. You will have 5 minutes. Good evening once again and welcome.
Good evening once again. True, Al, I was on the Harold Stone. Pardon me. I was on a committee at the airport to discuss the potential master plan. However, I found that I was never notified of the last couple of meetings. And I wrote a letter, I believe, to the city stating to them that it looked to me like me being on that committee was so that I would not be able to come in here and keep my mouth shut because I had my chance to talk in front of the committee. I was not in on the planning session or the final hearings of the airport meeting, whatever they call that group. I call it voter without portfolio. Al says that they show no changes. I'm looking at alternative number 1 and alternative number 2 right behind my home. And alternative number 1 shows buildings going back there. And alternative number 2 shows conventional hangars going back there behind my home. Also, years ago, I suggested to the city that instead of having Civic Drive go behind the houses, they would move it to the back of the car rental agencies and connect it with Civic Drive over by the big hangar. That fell on deaf ears because if they did that, Civic Drive could be closed to through traffic and all of the airport traffic could still get over to the other end of the airport, and is the alignment that Civic Drive used to be on when we acquired the airport. Very simple to do. So on alternative number 1, what do they show? They show a road back there on the other side of the car rental agencies, stopping about 100 feet short of connecting with Civic Drive by the big hangar here. Which means that all they have to do is close off Civic behind our houses and well, they wouldn't really need the landscaping because all the noise would be, about 300-400 feet away from our homes. And a lot cheaper because if they're going to build that road, why build the road and also put in all the landscaping? That idea falls on deaf ears. So I question the fact that when both plans I'm looking at show buildings behind my home, and one of them shows a huge apron accessing onto Civic Drive, that if they don't put their foot in the brake pedal, they end up in my bedroom. Because there's a huge street access way coming into Civic Drive just behind my home. Another thing that I heard at the Planning Commission, that the FAA would not allow anything to be built on airport land except government-related facilities. The FAA told me airport-related facilities are to be built on airport land. The Civic Drive that you now have is not. It is all on airport land and being used as a general thoroughfare. So if what the FAA is saying and what the airport is saying, we should have barricades up blocking Civic Drive now because it is on airport land. Now, there's got to be something consistent. There's something very funny going on. And I'm about run out of patience, to be honest. I'm not threatening, but since 1960, Since 1960, I've been trying to get this problem solved. The wall is 6 foot behind my house, and at the other end it is 4 feet high. There is no landscaping strip at the far end. One of the car rental agencies have a car wash right up against the house's back wall. And that's the house that built the garage to try to shield this activity from them. This is not right, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it's right here in your proposed master plan. Why are they going to put a street in that I long suggested to them and not run it a few hundred feet, connect it to the existing Civic Drive, close off the old Civic Drive? My house again becomes a single frontage lot, mine and 8 others or 12 others, and there's no need for noise control because there'll be no traffic behind us. Trucks can load and unload at 1 o'clock in the morning if they want to. Like right now, 2:30 in the morning, 200 feet from my pillow is not much fun. True, I call the city, and the city says they can and can't. Oh, beg your pardon. Thank you.
Thank you.
I plead with you not to pass this.
Anyone else wishing to speak in the public hearing, please come forward this time. If there's no one else, we will close the public hearing. Thank you. Council? Questions, observations, or what is your pleasure?
Mr. Oden?
Mr. Mills?
I wonder if Mr. Smoot could comment on Mr. Stone's comments. So,
I'd be happy to. I don't know why Mr. Stone did not get notices to the last 2 meetings. They were sent to the same place as all the other notices were. It was not an intention for him not to be there. And he was not put on there so he would not speak up. He was put on there because we knew he would speak up and we knew he would come to these hearings, and we welcome his comments. I do think it's important for you to know that the document he was showing you was part of the planning process. As we went through this, we looked at alternatives, and one of the requests that he had was to try to find a way to reroute Civic Drive. Those 2 alternatives that you saw were not chosen because they did not work. And there is no alternative to reroute Civic Drive, and all of the things that were shown on that drawing are not going to be done. The airport land use plan for that vicinity has always shown possible aircraft apron and hangars in that back area back there behind his home, and that's what's still on the plan. It has not changed. The one thing that has changed is the project that we've put in there to try to develop the noise buffer and try to be a better neighbor with the folks in that particular area who have their homes that back up to the airport in that location. So we have worked through that process, and there is no plan to put a stub of Civic Drive or anything else in there in the master plan. As part of the planning process, it was looked at because it was brought to our attention by folks in the neighborhood.
Mr. Smoot, could you elaborate a little further on, give us a reason why the rerouting would not work?
For two reasons, and both of them relate to existing leaseholds that are there. We would have to move a fuel farm that's back in there, and we would have to completely relocate one of the rental car operations back in there in order to make that happen. And when we looked at the viability of it, it made more sense to try to come up with a noise barrier system that would try to help the situation and try to get better controls on the rent-a-cars so we don't have as many problems.
I have a question.
Councilmember Spurgeon.
How long has Mr. Stone lived in that house? 43 years?
Long time.
43 years? How long's the airport been in existence?
Since 1938.
Thank you.
Mr. Mills.
Nice anticipation. Mr. Smooth, back when that reroute was done, that 40-foot, 60-foot strip in there, My understanding was that was originally supposed to be landscaped and maintained by the city, and there is a little bit of landscaping left. And I don't know if it was ever really fully landscaped. I sure don't remember seeing it fully landscaped. Just the eucalyptus trees is about all I recall. But I do think there were promises made to those people at that time that that would be a landscape buffer to soften essentially what is happening there noise-wise, vision-wise, and access-wise. I think the city has been remiss since that promise was made. And if I understand what you're saying, the proposal now is an 8-foot masonry wall and to put the landscaping in like it probably should have been done 30 years ago or whenever it was.
That's correct.
And you anticipate that to be within a couple of years?
Yes, the plan shows it in the short term. As you know, we're struggling with dollars right now to try to complete the security mandates that we have, and when that's complete, the project comes to the top of the list.
Okay. Thank you very much.
How much would that part of the project be, Al?
I don't have the exact estimate on it, but I'm guessing it's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $500,000 to raise the wall and do the landscaping work that has to be done in there. We're not even sure that we can actually raise the wall yet. We've got to evaluate that. We may have to completely build a new wall.
I know that we've been talking about this since '95 at least, right?
Yes, it was not included in the 95 plan, and nothing was included. It is in the new plan.
Mr. Smoot, now you're saying as soon as we take care of the necessary things with the safety and security issues, that will move to the top of the list?
That's correct. It's in the short-term plan.
All right, Council.
Mr. Oden?
Mr. Mills.
I think, Al, based on the other part of the master plan that we have not discussed, we've certainly seen what's happening. We're aware of what's happening at the airport. This essentially picks up what we've already approved and what we've seen. I think the whole arrangement that we've done that you have headed is a superb job, and I'm real happy with how that master plan is going. And I would
Resolution.
like to move the resolution. Thank you, Jeannie. On this item.
Second.
Okay, resolution is moved by Councilmember Mills and second by Councilmember Roller Spurgeon. Roll call.
Mr. Mills?
Aye.
Ms. Raleigh Spurgeon?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor?
Aye. It is passed, 3 approved, 1 abstention. And with that, we will move to item number 13.
Mr. Mayor, I will have to abstain on that issue due to proximity of where I live.
Okay, then we will give you a moment, Jeannie, to exit as the mayor returns.
If I could make a comment, the item 7 that was on the consent calendar,
Yes.
we will want at some point in time to come back and talk about this item. If we could bring this back up.
Tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know whether you would like to do that now or after item 13 that you've just called up.
I suggest you do 13. Jeannie's out of the chamber. Let's do it 13 because of her abstention, and then we'll return back to 7.
That's fine.
Let's turn to staff then for its report on item 13, the tentative track map 31256, case 3.2342, the Alejo Caballeros LLC. Mr. Reddy.
Mr. Mayor, this is in regard to construction of 14 condominium units, and I would ask Mr. Evans, our Director of Planning, to give the staff report. Thank you.
Mr. Reddy. Mr. Evans.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. This is a tentative subdivision map for condominium purposes. It's a one-lot subdivision map for the property located at 977 Alejo. That's at the southwest corner of Alejo and Caballeros. It's in Section 14. The development project that goes with this application was a 14-unit condominium project. The 14-unit condominium project was processed through the Planning Commission as a major architectural approval item. It did not require city council approval, but we did bring the plans so that you can take a look at the plans and see what the condominium map is for. The Planning Commission reviewed this project at its June 11th meeting, voted 6-0 with one absent to approve, or excuse me, I think it was one absent, to approve the project subject to conditions. Two members of the public spoke. They own condominiums south of the property. When they found out that this property is in excess of 300 feet away from their condominium units, I think most of their concerns no longer existed. There's a vacant piece of property between the subject property and the condominium project to the south. The project's consistent with the general plan. It's consistent with the zoning ordinance. It's a by right of zone project, and it's kind of a pleasure to process a project that did not require a planned development district, a variance, a conditional use permit, just a plain old-fashioned by right of zone residential project with a subdivision map. You have the information regarding the overall project. We did review the project as we do with all projects in Section 14, and the project is consistent with the Section 14 master plan. In meeting with tribal staff and getting comments from Tribal Planning Commission and Tribal Council, we did put a condition of approval in to do a limited median island in Caballeros, really at the intersections, or the intersection at the corner, so that there would be a signature identification as you enter into the Section 14 area. And the tribe did not want to try to do a full median all the way down. They felt that that really probably wasn't necessary, but something to just signify entering into Section 14 up near the intersection. Projects exempt from environmental assessment. With that overview of the staff report, I will show you the related architectural plans, just so you know what you're approving in the map.
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
So I indicated the subdivision map is basically just a one-lot subdivision of the property. It does not include any improvements on the property. It basically is a real estate subdivision map. The project has one main entry off of Alejo, has a secondary entry off of Caballeros that will probably be used as just an emergency ingress and egress point. 14 condominium units in a duplex type fashion, meets all the setback criteria. There's going to be some additional work done from a design standpoint for this termination point. Some of the hardscape will get reworked in final landscape plan. The perspective drawings of the project from the main entry, from one of the on-site entry locations as you would look at a unit, and then the specific elevation shown up to my far left, and then the color and materials. Project was reviewed very warmly by Design Review Group as well as the Planning Commission. We recommend approval.
Council, have any questions on this application before we open the public hearing? Very good. Seeing no one, this is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to address the council on item 13, please do so at this time. Smelling smoke? So weird. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Give you the name of the city clerk and welcome.
My name is Dennis Freeman. I'm the developer of Alejo Vista. One minor correction for Doug, the exit out onto Caballeros will be for exit only and an emergency access for fire protection. One thing I'd like to say is I'd like to compliment staff publicly. They've been excellent help trying to get this project through. This is one of several projects that we're going to be presenting to the city soon. One goes up to DRC, I think, Monday morning, so Monday afternoon. So if you have any questions, comments, I'm here to answer it.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address the council during this public hearing? Thank you. Seeing no one, we'll close public hearing, turn to council for action. Council, what's your pleasure?
I will move the resolution.
Motion by Mr. Oden, is there a second?
And I would second it and welcome Mr. Freeman back to town.
Been a while. Any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's 3-0, it's deemed unanimous. If you'll bring Ms. Rella Spurgeon back in, perhaps we'll return to item 7, was it, Mr. Alshire?
Yes. Let me make a comment on this. Two council
We're going to go back
members.
to item 7.
Two council members indicated that they had a potential conflict, which meant that we didn't have a quorum to discuss the matter. However, in talking to the city engineer, he says that the grant application is, we have $58,000 in funding that is available, but only if we act by tonight. Any continuation of this would cause the loss of that funding. In light of that time deadline, I think it would be possible for the council members with conflicts to draw lots and decide who would participate and then go ahead and consider the matter.
I might give a point of clarification just to further give more clarity to this. The $58,800 of SB 821 funds, they were to have an answer on council's action before the end of last month. Because this meeting was so close to last month, RCTC allowed us the extension to tonight. So there's not an ability for us to go back and get a further extension since the period has lapsed and we have just the grace of a few days extension. So with that, our hope is to get action tonight that can secure the $58,000 towards this project. So how do we do this? Madam Clerk, you want to draw lots? Councilman Mills and Councilman Oden have logged their conflicts of interest due to proximity to residence. State of California allows those with a conflict to draw lots, to establish a quorum, to allow the action to proceed. The losing member will be asked to step out of chamber. Thank you, Mr. Mills. It looks as though Mr. Oden has won this round. If you're keeping score, for clarification, I believe Mr. Oden forms quorum. Is he allowed to engage in debate, and may he cast vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Perhaps we can get a brief staff report. Council, do you need a staff report on this?
No.
Thank you.
I'll move the minute order.
Motion for approval on Ms. Rella Spurgeon. Is there a second? You allowed to vote?
That's what they say, but I don't know.
I'll cast the second. That gives you what you need. Ask for a roll call, please. Hey, get out of the chamber. Close that door, get out of here.
You're the loser, remember?
Mr. Oden?
Aye.
Ms. Rella Spurgeon?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor?
Aye. It's 3-0 deemed unanimous. Please bring in the loser. I mean, Mr. Mills. Thank you, Mr. Mills. I appreciate your cooperation. Let's now turn to item 14. This is an appeal logged by a citizen on case 5.0827. It is the Ralph Savon signage. I'll ask Mr. Reddy for his staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council, regarding the Ralph Savon, which is certainly in its final construction stages on the corner of Sunrise and Ramon. We have two appeals, one by the developer and one by a citizen withstanding. And I would ask Mr. Evans, Director of Planning, to give the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. This is an application for a sign program that the Planning Commission reviewed. The appeal has two components to it. The developer, Herb Lundeen, has appealed the Planning Commission's denial of the placement of the business name Savon on two monument signs. I'll explain those when I show you the drawings. It'll be a little bit easier to see. The Planning Commission based that denial upon the zoning ordinance, and basically for shopping centers less than 15 acres in size, the monument signs are only permitted to name the center. They're not permitted to name tenants within the center. And the Planning Commission felt that Ralph's Center was an appropriate name since they're the key tenant, and that Ralph's Savon Center was just naming tenants and not really the shopping center. Commission based their comments really on the code provision as well as the aesthetics, and I'll show you that so you can take a look at that. The second appeal is for Mr. Frank Tyson, and he did appeal the face and halo illumination of the main sign for Ralph's and Save-On. The way the signs are designed now, they're basically individual channel letters. They would have a red Plex face on them that the light would shine through. They would be open channel letters on the back, pinned away from the building, and the neon light within the sign would actually then wash the wall. And the idea of that type of signing was to be able to push the color of the corporate identity, red of Save-On and Ralph's, in a sign at night, and then by washing the wall behind it to cut the glare down. The commission felt that that was an appropriate design. It would cut down on some of the glare of the sign, and the commission felt that it would be appropriate to have lighted signs for those two anchor tenants within the facility. Mr. Tyson's appeal is basically fairly straightforward, and he did submit a follow-up letter and gave you some photographic material on how that would look. Basically, what he's asked is that the main sign be a reverse channel letter. You would not have the red exposed at night through the face of the letters. There would be a glow or a backlighting of the signs, very similar to what's been done at Save-On, or excuse me, at Jack in the Box, at Sunny Dunes, and South Palm Canyon, as well as Lowe's. Both signs, I think, aesthetically would be very pleasing, and it's obvious an aesthetic judgment that the council gets to make tonight. I think this is the first time we've had a double appeal in the history of the city. So we've set a little bit of history tonight. So it's the first time I've done this, and I can't recall any double appeals like this. We have a site plan. Basically, the monument sign is located in this location and this location, so there would be two monument signs. The sign that was reviewed by the Planning Commission and not approved was this sign here, and the commission basically said take the Save-On out, continue the oval around, and put center below, so that you would have just a Ralph's center sign. Commission also asked that the urn be taken off. They felt that that wasn't really necessary. The applicant's appeal is to allow Save-On, and they've submitted a new graphic to basically make it a little bit stronger graphically and not have the graphic of Ralph's, which everybody liked, broken up, and basically Ralph's in the oval, Save-On, and then center. So this is what the applicant would like the council to approve in overturning the Planning Commission. With regards to the Ralph's sign, again, the Ralph's proposal is everything in red would have a Plex face so you could see through and project the red. The sign would be mounted again away from the wall, so it would wash the wall with light behind it. The same thing would occur with Save-On. The RX drive-through was not approved. And to give you an idea where the signs are located on the building, Save-On would have two signs, one facing to the east, one facing to the south, and Ralph's would only have one main sign facing to the east. That completes the report. I'll certainly try to answer your questions. Those are in. So tonight, the council gets to pick a couple of signs.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Evans. Questions from Mr. Evans on his staff report? Doug, is there consistency in all of the signs used on all of the building and all of the monuments? Are they all illuminated the same way currently?
This is a very elaborate sign program. So the only signs that are, at least at this point, this type of setup are these signs. The rest of the signs have different locations because they're primarily tenant signs, and since that part of the sign program was not appealed. We didn't put that up, but we'd fill up the whole board with the sign program. They've got some great metal bands that are built into the fascias of the building. They're perforated so they can mount signs, and they'll have basically lighted letters. They won't have to be neon. They can be other type of lighting. It's really a phenomenal sign program. I think everybody really liked it. But since the appeal were only these issues and we thought they were fairly focused, we didn't put all the exhibits up. I do have a sign program here if you'd like me to review it.
No, thank you, sir.
That's three copies of it.
Any other questions before we open the public hearing?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Mills.
Doug, out of curiosity, was the urn removed as a suggestion of architectural review or planning commission?
Design review, just to clean it up. Make it a real simple, clean statement. They didn't see a need for it.
And if I'm understanding, so the planning commission's objection is to Ralph Savon, the words, strictly the words. Is that correctly?
It's the words and the fact that it's going beyond just identifying the center. They felt that by adding save on, it's now identifying the two anchor tenants. It was really a code-driven decision with a minor influence on just balance of graphics.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, other questions? We've got two appeals before us. First order is Mr. Frank Tyson. Mr. Tyson, if you'll come forward at this time and tell us what you're thinking about, sir. We appreciate you coming down tonight. Forward to your comments.
Frank Tyson, 175 South Kaweah. I know that the council has worked very long and hard on the design and redesign of this center, and I thank him and compliment him for that. I believe that this center has every promise of becoming a very attractive addition to our city. My concern is over the type of illumination of the anchor tenants, Ralph's and Save-On. As things stands right now, the night sign lighting appears to be rather excessive, both the face red and both the backlighting red, which is a little bit more befitting a nightclub area than a neighborhood center, not to speak of our charming community. I believe that it's a shame to spoil the nice architecture that's emerging there. Last year, the council pioneered a perfect compromise with a Jack-in-the-Box on Palm Canyon, which has been widely admired. The council let the company have its signature red lettering, but required white backlighting at night, making the letters read black at night, which is now being done in many other or several other quality communities. In fact, last night I drove through Pacific Palisades and I saw the Ralph's circle there backlit in white, and on Beverly Hills on Wilshire, the Save-On sign is backlit at night and is actually not even red during the daytime. It's dark gray. Again, I think what the council did there, it must be complimented for and thanked for. And then I must add that Kentucky Fried Chicken, which is rebuilding a very attractive new addition, actually a new building, is following that same example. My request to the council is to continue with that example that you set at Jack in the Box. Allow red letters by day and keep them opaque at night so that with white backlighting so that they read black. Now, there were two concerns that the sign people that I talked to told me about. One thing they were concerned about, that maybe you couldn't read it that well from the distance, 410 feet from Sunrise. And again, we have Lowe's to prove that you can find. Lowe's has very soft blue backlighting, and no one has any trouble finding Lowe's. The other concern was that the buildings are supposed to be washed with some light. And again, I spoke to some of the lighting designers there, and they said, well, that could be adjusted so you could still have good readability by having it read black at night and white backlighting. So I appreciate your efforts to anything you can do to make this center a true valuable addition to our community and an attractive addition. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Does the appeal on the monument side have comments?
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilman. My name is Greg Beaver, and it's a pleasure to be here. We're very pleased. We're getting close to opening our center, and we've got some exciting new tenants coming in. We've got a Panda Express that's expressed interest and is going to join us, along with a second Video Depot that's going to be part of our center. Curves for Women, a new hot franchise that's sweeping the nation, and some other exciting tenants. And Ralph's is scheduled to open on July 30th, and we hope to have as many of you as possible come to a pre-opening open house, and we'll be sending out some invitations, and we look forward to seeing you there. As Doug said, I'm here to address two issues. One is to respond to Mr. Tyson's appeal to the Planning Commission's approval of the building signs. And we, through Mr. Chofie, have been working on our sign program starting last November or December through design review, and then with staff's review of the plan, and then finally with Planning Commission's approval of the building sign program that included the Save on the Ralph's building signs as reflected up there. It's a quality design, and it's gone through a lot of tugs and twists and turns to satisfy a lot of people. And we would ask that you affirm the Planning Commission's approval of that sign and allow us to go ahead and put them on the building. We are dangerously close to Ralph's opening in 28 days, and they can't open without the signs on the store, and we'll just be able to get them fabricated, permitted, and up within that time frame. So we ask that you support staff, Planning Commission, and design review, and allow us to proceed with it as we have planned it. The other issue that I'm here to address is the request to name our center the Ralph's Save-On Center. We think that there's a precedence for this piece of property to have the center named the name of the anchor tenant. It was always named the Alpha Beta Center, and then the Ralph Center, and some people called it the Ralpha Beta Center. And it's now the Ralph's Save-On Center. And so it's got a long history of being identified with the anchor tenants. We have two major anchor tenants now instead of one. It's also consistent with the way that the other neighborhood centers, grocery anchored or grocery and drugstore anchored centers, are named within the city. There was a mention that there's a 15-acre criteria for having a center identified with a particular tenant or two. We take a look at the Smoke Tree Center, and very clearly on two monument signs, it says the Ralph's Long Smoke Tree Village Center. That center's not 15 acres, but our center is consistent with that type of center. They're all the same. All the Stater Brothers Center, which has got a monument sign that says Stater Brothers Dairy Queen, and the Albertson Center that is called the Albertson Save-On Center. Some of these have future expansion possibilities, which gets them into perhaps into the 15-acre category, but they're basically all the same. They're a grocery store anchored or grocery store and drugstore anchored neighborhood center, and we fit that, and we're consistent with that, and we think that's in keeping to name our center the Ralph Save-On Center and have our center identification monument sign reflect that, and I would request that you approve that. And that's all I have to say. We do have some other people here from the sign companies to respond to any questions that you have.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address the council on this public hearing? Give your name to the city clerk. Welcome, sir.
Mr. Mayor, council members, my name is Mike Reed with the
Albertson Save-On Real Estate Department. First, I'd like to thank you for allowing Save-On to come into town. It's our first freestanding Save-On in town, and we are very appreciative to come here. As a practical matter, we believe that people of the city of Palm Springs are going to refer to this center as the Ralph Save-On Center. Very similar to the center on the northwest corner of Vista Chino and Sunrise, the Albertson Save-On Center. So our request is consistent with what the city has already approved in the past. This is going to be the first and only, well, I can't say only, but the first Ralph's Save-On Center in town. And as I mentioned before, it's going to be the first full-service Save-On drugstore in town. And we believe because of that, any extra signage that we can get would be greatly benefit our business as well as the center's business. We anticipate a grand opening date in mid-September to late September. That date has been moving slightly, but it will be in that time frame. We appreciate your consideration. I'm here to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to address the council?
Good evening. My name is Laura Paez, Real Estate Manager with Ralph's Grocery Company, 1100 West Artesia Boulevard in Compton, California. Our Ralph's Grocery Store is less than 30 days from grand opening, and we do not have our signage in place. Ralph's has operated at this location for many years and has committed to a substantial investment here, and we're extremely excited about the opportunity to open a brand new full-service prototype facility. But signage is critical to our operation, and in fact, our grand opening is in jeopardy without identification. On behalf of Ralph's Grocery Company, I implore you to approve our sign program as submitted tonight to avoid the delay in our store's grand opening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name is Lloyd Francis. I'm Ralph's sign contractor. I'd like to bring it a little bit more in perspective regarding Mr. Tyson's appeal. I think it'll satisfy him a little bit more. The type of sign here that we've developed in here is exactly for this type of center. It is very low key and a quality sign. The red doesn't illuminate like a regular channel letter. The backlighting is white, not red. And what it does is the back is open. When the light comes out and washes the wall about 2-3 inches away from the sign, the red just glows. That's all it does. It's very low key. Mr. Tyson mentioned Pacific Palisade was a very nice sign. That's exactly the sign we propose here. We have them in Mission Viejo, Beverly Hills, have them all over. Where a quality center goes in and they're concerned about the bright lights. This is not a bright sign. Have you had any questions regarding that at all?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address the council during this public hearing? Very good. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing and turn to council. Again, there are 2 items before you. Council?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Oden.
I guess my first question is for staff. Regarding the acreage requirement, how long have we had that requirement?
We put that requirement in probably 5 to 6 years ago. We redid the sign ordinance, might have been a little bit longer. I'd have to double check.
So it didn't exist before then, or you modified it at that point?
Well, prior to that, we didn't allow tenant identification on main signs, so you just had center identification. And we came back in conjunction with the Palm Springs Mall, the shopping centers at Sunrise and Vista Chino, and basically fixed the ordinance so that you could have tenant identification on the individual monument signs. And in this particular case, originally they proposed to advertise a number of tenants, and that's the very top left-handed sign where they basically wanted all the tenants listed. That clearly was, in staff's opinion, in violation of the ordinance for the under 15-acre shopping centers. The issue of whether or not you call it Ralph's Save-On Center or Ralph's Center, I think it'd just be a matter of the council making a finding that that's the name of the center, and you're not identifying individual tenants. It's not as if they're putting Starbucks and Carl's and everybody else up.
So it's just the title of the center itself.
That's the way you would have to make the finding.
Okay, well, based upon what I think are the market trends, perhaps we may need to look at that or revisit that acreage requirement kind of arbitrarily. I think if they are coming into this community and making this significant investment and they would like to share the billing of that center with their anchor, to me, that's all right. I certainly don't have a problem with it. And as far as the lighting is concerned, went through architectural review and planning commission and was approved overwhelmingly, and I support that.
Okay, other council comments or questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Mills?
I think the appeal regarding the planning commission issue on the Ralph Savon, as Mr. Beaver stated, and I mean, we have allowed similar instances throughout the city in different shopping centers to really to essentially solve the problem of the under 15 acre situation. I am not concerned about this one, but what I would be concerned about, and probably where the planning commission is coming from, is if all of a sudden it becomes the Ralph Savon Panda Express Curves Center, and I'm so not saying this is where that's going, but what I am saying is that potentially that the way the ordinance is, it really does kind of leave that open, and I think we probably need to take a look at that. But for what we're looking at right now, as Mr. Oden stated, I think we need to be consistent with what our approvals are, unless we want to go back and make the ordinance change, and I feel this is consistent. As far as the lighting of the signs, I think the proposal is fine. I'm happy with it as it was approved. I appreciate Mr. Tyson's comments, and I appreciate his appeal. I think in this particular case, I think what is approved is it will identify a quality center, as I think this one is.
Okay. Other questions and comments?
I'll go ahead and make a motion to override the planning commission's to uphold the appeal of the planning commission's decisions. Is that correct, Mr. Evans?
Uphold the decision of the planning commission on the
lighting,
Ralph sign and Savon,
and overrule the planning
commission on the monument sign and approving the exhibit in the bottom right-hand corner. And if the council's comfortable, we could just prepare a resolution based upon your discussions, and if you're comfortable, subject to city attorney approval, we'll just execute that, unless you want us to bring it back to you.
I would be comfortable with staff drafting the resolution.
To bring it back.
And I'd be comfortable second.
Yeah, and not bring it back, yeah.
And not bring it back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Concurrence.
Get a motion in a second. I've got some comments. First off, I got to get a clarification. I was under the impression, based on staff's report, that we have to make a finding that allows us to do this, and the ordinance doesn't provide that with less than 15 acres. So how do we determine that which we're not empowered to do by ordinance?
Well, the finding that you would be making tonight, and I interpreted that the motion maker included that, was that the city council finds that the name of this shopping center is the Ralph Savon Center.
That's different.
And that you're not identifying individual tenants, you're naming the shopping center, and that's the way the sign is. And as mentioned in the discussion, we have other shopping centers that have used that. The Planning Commission just felt that differently about that, and they discussed it for quite some time too.
So let's go into the future. One of the two tenants decides that they don't want to be there, they leave, and a new tenant comes in. Does it remain Ralph's Save-On Center, or does it take the name of the new tenant?
I have a feeling I'll get a new sign application.
So then it is, in fact, the names of the tenant that are actually on the sign. And that's where I think the argument fails, that you're not naming the center for anything more than the tenants themselves. And I believe the ordinance was trying to avoid naming the center over multiple tenants.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mills.
I agree with you 100% with what you are saying. However, this has been allowed to happen in other places. I don't see any reason to hold this particular project hostage over what may be a flaw in our ordinance. If we truly don't want it to be named after tenants, then we should say that in the ordinance. But I won't say every center, but most centers are named after tenant. I'll give you another example is the Sun Center, which was named after the Desert Sun was the main tenant in there at that time. It's just, it's a common practice, and I just don't, I don't see a problem with it. If we're going to fix it, we don't fix it right here. We fix it at a later date and not, again, as I mentioned, not hold this particular applicant hostage on it.
Okay, and then on the issue of the appeal on the Save-On, on the Ralph sign, I need staff clarification as to that which the applicant is appealing. How much different is that which he's asking for versus that which is being built, being submitted here?
On the monument
sign maker said it's the same sign. The red will simply glow.
Well, the sign that you're looking at, I think he was implying that this is the same type of sign that they've done in other communities. It basically has an acrylic face to it, so the red will glow, and I think by having the channel letter exposed at the back, a lot of the light will go out the back of the sign as opposed to being pushed through the front. The commission wanted staff to work with the applicant to make sure that it was a soft, lighted sign, so we might have to work with them on adjusting lighting, and they were willing to work with that. Would like to just make a point of clarification because the Save-On sign appears to say red LED, and I heard the sign manufacturer say both signs, I believe, would be white as far as the glow. So I put a note on the plan. I think I answered your question, but if I didn't, please restate it.
So at night, though, there'll be a red glow to the letters, not blacked out as the
Yeah, the
Jack in
letters
Box
will
sign.
be a softer red than a traditional channel letter with the white washing around the sign. So it cuts down on the glare.
Okay. All right, any further comments or questions? Take a roll call, please.
Mr. Mills?
Aye.
Mr. Oden?
Aye.
Ms. Rose Spurgeon? Aye. Mr. Mayor?
No. 3-1. Turn to council comments, announcements, or interagency reports. Council?
Can we do?
Requests are at the end of the meeting. Requests will be at the end. This is for interagency reports or announcements. All right, we'll go to legislative calendar. Item 15, Muni Code Amendment, Drug Paraphernalia, second reading and adoption, first introduced on 6/1803. What's the council's pleasure?
The ordinance, second reading.
Motion by Ms. Rilla Spurgeon. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Oden. I asked the maker in the second to waive text and read only title.
Yes.
Madam Clerk, if you'll read title.
This would be an ordinance of the City of Palm Springs, California, repealing Chapter 11.92 of the Palm Springs Municipal Code relating to the display and sale of drug paraphernalia.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Mills?
Aye.
Mr. Oden?
Aye.
Ms. Rose Spurgeon?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor?
Aye. It's 4-0, deemed unanimous. Item 16 is Municipal Code Amendment, Sewers. Ms. Rilla Spurgeon.
I need to abstain on this issue, work-related.
Thank you. I'll allow Ms. Rilla Spurgeon to leave the chamber. This is item 16, the Muni Code Amendment for Sewers. Mr. Reddy, I'll turn to you for your staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This is updating our code regarding sewers and connections to the sewer lines for those that are not connected. And I would ask Mr. Bracken, our city engineer and director of public works, to give the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reddy. This is an item that was continued from the last council meeting. The basic premise here that staff feels it's a good thing for connection to the sanitary sewer system. And currently our ordinance is silent on whether buildings that are not currently connected to the system can expand or repair their private septic systems when sanitary sewer exists within 500 feet of the sewer, or excuse me, of the building. And the proposed ordinance change clarifies that. In addition, it updates the economic hardship definition to current costs based on what it previously was, and just updated it based on construction cost index. It basically provides that existing buildings shall be connected and will not be allowed to repair or expand their on-site sanitary sewer system, their on-site septic system, if sanitary sewer exists within 500 feet. The hardship rule will still apply with the higher dollar value rates. Staff recommends its approval.
Thank you, David. Council, questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Oden.
I think that by addressing the hardship issues and having a more progressive hookup plan, I think it really covers many of the issues that were pending in our community. So with that, I'll move the resolution and the ordinance.
And I would second, but I would like to ask Mr. Bracken a question.
Yes, Mr. Mills.
David, does anything that we do here in modification of this ordinance affect any potential state or federal funding that we might ever get for sewer extensions by having these types of exemptions?
Well, in tightening the exemptions, I would think it would be in a positive manner when the
what I mean is by even having them.
By having exemptions at all?
By having these types of exemptions.
I don't foresee that would be the case.
Okay.
It wasn't the case when they were first put in. That's for sure. They were allowed to exist at that time.
Okay. Thank you.
I will just suggest to you that it is important, at least to this member, that we do everything we can to protect the vitally important water systems that are diminishing in this valley. And any attempt we have to increase the use of sewers and the reduction of septic tanks is the right step in that direction. We still have, obviously, under the planning and building departments, the requirement that once they hook up, they are to crush and fill their existing septic tanks.
Yes.
Okay. Any further comments or questions?
Yes, that would also be with the ordinance to read the title and waive the reading of the text.
So second concur with that?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. If you will read title and waiving text of the ordinance.
This would be an ordinance of the City of Palm Springs, California, amending Section 15.14.020 of the Palm Springs Municipal Code to clarify conditions requiring connection of existing buildings to the public sewer.
Thank you. I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Mr. Mills?
Aye.
Mr. Oden?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor?
Aye, it is 3-0 deemed unanimous. If I could ask you to bring Ms. Rella Spurgeon back into chamber. Item 17 is the Muni Code Amendment for rent and the urgency ordinance for rent, of which have been withdrawn for tonight's calendar and rescheduled for 2 weeks from this date. We'll now turn to item 18, which is a resolution of convenience and necessity for Springstone Enterprise, DBA The House of Ninja.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of council, this is a resolution of convenience and necessity. The House of Ninja is a restaurant, a new restaurant to be located on North Palm Canyon in the Heritage District. It is a restaurant which will certainly help that area, a new restaurant, and it is recommended your approval. If you need additional staff report and questions or any questions on this, Mr. Evans will be available to answer those. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, any questions?
I have no questions. I do want to state that I will not be supporting this. As historically, I have not, that I do not lend my name to the convenience and necessity of the purchase of alcohol.
Thank you, Ms. Rilla Spurgeon. Any additional comments or questions? I'm just personally pleased to see the introduction of another restaurant in this area. It breeds new life, new activity, and hopefully good for the surrounding businesses. Council, what's your pleasure?
Move the resolution.
And I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Mills and second by Mr. Oden. Any further comments or questions?
Mr. Mayor, just a comment. I would agree with you that with the development that's taking place in North Palm Canyon, the addition of a new restaurant, I think greatly adds to the amenities of that particular area, and I certainly wish them success.
You're here. Roll call, please.
Mr. Mills?
Aye.
Mr. Oden?
Aye.
Ms. Rilla Spurgeon?
No.
Mr. Mayor?
Aye, 3-1 is passed. Item 19 is the 2002-2003 fiscal year continuing appropriations. This is a companion measure to the piece we had, I think, at the CRA.
Yes.
The council's pleasure on this.
Move the resolution.
Motion by Mr. Oden for approval. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor? If I could ask council's forbearance, there was a...
Council, do you wish to give him your forbearance? I've got mine out in the car. Be right back. All right, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There were a couple of account numbers that were inadvertently left off the list for the Visitor Information Center. As you know, as we're redoing it, we still have some small expenses there for utilities and custodial services, and we would ask that you would add that to the resolution. The total amount of the five accounts is only $5,800. That'll save us from having to come back to council with a separate action to include that in the budget. Thank you.
And that's for the, Tom, that's for the Visitor Center?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, after further discussion and deliberation, it appears as though Mr. Oden gave his forbearance to Jeannie, and he wants it back.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Mills?
Perhaps a question for Mr. Alshire. This particular item includes the item to which I abstained on, Mr. Oden and I abstained on, Drew Strauss. Am I allowed to abstain just on that one particular account number?
Where is it? Which one is it? Can you cite it page-wise?
It's on 19B4, the fourth from the bottom.
The non-capital equipment?
Let's draw straws again.
Got the Racket Club sidewalk?
Yes, the Racket Club sidewalk.
Yeah.
I think it's the same as number 7, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is. I don't know.
Is it? Loaded. You've got a concurrence and nod from your city engineer that is indeed the case. Mr. Alshire, what's your recommendation, sir?
Well, if I could, if we separate that item out of the resolution, what happens?
Mr. Kanar?
Mr. Mayor, if I could suggest essentially just approving an accounting entry here, I don't know that would necessarily trigger any kind of conflict of interest. The budget's adopted with all sorts of things in there that you would otherwise potentially have conflicts of interest on. I looked at the city attorney, but it seems to me that would just be essentially approving moving funds previously budgeted into the current fiscal year.
But my question was, what happens if it's taken out of this resolution, put into a separate? What's the consequence of that? I'm just asking what the...
If you wanted a separate vote or a separate resolution on it, I suppose we could do that.
I'll show you the way. How's that? Need a little help here, gentlemen. Give us a recommendation as to how to handle this.
I just seems, if there's a conflict in improving the project, then the allocation of money for the project seems related to that action. So if you separated it out, then you can vote on the, I mean, either you can abstain from the whole resolution, or you separate it out and then abstain from that item.
If the two step out on that issue, we can't move that issue.
No, that's
Only
why
that
I'm
issue.
saying, if you
Only that issue.
if you separate out that item, you've already drawn straws.
What about the comments that Mr. Kumar made when we approve our budget? Because certainly when we approve the budget, there may be issues within the budget that a person may potentially have conflicts with. But they approve the budget as a whole.
Well, if there are items in the budget they have conflicts with, we should be dealing with that. I haven't heard that before.
All right, let's pull the Racket Club sidewalk, and the remaining item requires council action. Mr. Oden, will you amend your motion without that? Withdraw that motion, sir, and we'll remove the Racket Club sidewalk, fourth from the bottom on 19B4. The remaining items require action. What's the council's pleasure?
Well, that item is not a part of it, so now there is not a conflict on the remaining resolution. That item was separated out.
Fine. Then I move the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Oden. Is there a second? Second. Second by Mr. Mills. Any further conversation, discussions, or questions? If not, I'll turn to Madam Clerk for a roll call.
Just a small clarification. Now, with this new resolution, you're also revising it to include the visitor center funding that okay, thank you. Mr. Mills?
Aye.
Mr. Oden?
Aye.
Ms. Rose Spurgeon?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor?
Aye. Passes 4-0. Now, on the Racket Club sidewalk, do we need to draw straws?
No, you already drew straws. So if you want to now
Ask
take,
Mr. Mills to step out.
yes, and take a separate action on that item.
All right, let's have Mr. Mills step out. Council, what's before you is the continuing allocation for the Racket Club sidewalk, $13,850. What's the council's pleasure?
I'll move that resolution.
Motion for approval by Ms. Rose Spurgeon. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Oden. I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Mr. Oden?
Aye.
Ms. Rose Spurgeon?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor?
Aye. Passes 3-0 with one abstention. Well, I dare say he wasn't even here to abstain. All right, item 20 is the Village Fest rules and regulations. Mr. Reddy, I'll turn to you for a staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As directed by council during several city council study sessions, you had requested this amendment to be before you on Village Fest to amend the rules. They are before you, Mr. Mayor and council. Would you like us to go through and enumerate the changes, or are you satisfied with them as they are before you?
These are operating rules and regulations for those who participate. These are not rules that affect the board, composition, or otherwise.
That is correct.
Okay?
I'll move the minute order.
Motion by Ms. Rella Spurgeon for approval. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I have a question before I give the second.
I'll second that for discussion. I'd like to get the second on record for discussion. Go ahead,
Okay,
sir.
that's fine. Under item number 1, would you explain to the complaints about smoke, is cigarette smoking?
No, Mr. That really refers to
It says barbecue.
open pit barbecue smoke.
Smoke from the barbecues.
I didn't see.
Keyword.
Yes.
Barbecue.
I missed it.
Yeah, I wrote this too, didn't I? Anyway, complaints, yeah, they were complaining about the smokers.
missed
We had if you recall, 6 or 7 years ago, we had a number of open pit barbecue vendors in the event. There became complaints about air quality concerns and just general concerns, so we sort of phased those out, and now this is formalizing that, taking them out of the rules and regulations.
Okay.
That's what that is.
Item 2 then brings us the ability for food vendors to be only locally
Yes.
owned and operated,
Right.
as long as it's not barbecue.
That's correct. And that was also the local commissary issue, not having people servicing vending operations out of their homes.
Okay, and there was a discussion sometime during the year about the sale of items to generate revenue for nonprofits.
Yep.
Has that been addressed now?
Yes.
Yes.
That's there. Number 3.
And the fourth one is really to establish a balanced event, and we talked about this a lot, and right now our vendor mix is very close to this. But we, from time to time, have run into issues where we could have an overweighting towards jewelry, for example, or an overweighting towards food. And we discussed this with the board quite a bit about trying to keep a balance in the event.
Very good. Okay, and the Village Fest rules that are in the agenda packet, do they represent the changes then?
Yes, they do.
Okay. Council, any further questions or comments? We have a motion by Ms. Rutherford Spurgeon and a second by myself. Anyone else have questions or concerns? If not, roll call. All those in favor say aye. 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 Any opposed? 4-0 deemed unanimous. Item 21 is a 2003 special municipal election dealing with ballot measure. Mr. Reddy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. As directed by council some time ago during a study session, this is to put a measure on the ballot to increase the TOT by 1%, a rate of 1 percentage point, which will affect the convention center hotels only. The city clerk and the city attorney will have a report. I would like to begin with the city attorney at this point. Thank you.
Yes, council's aware that in order to provide assistance in financing the expansion of the convention center, the hoteliers suggested that the cost of that facility, which could not be fully funded through the TOT increase that was previously authorized, we would need another 1% increase to take care of that. The hoteliers also offered to backstop this commitment through an agreement to provide funding in lieu of this should this not pass. We are working with the hoteliers concerning that commitment. This particular item would move forward with putting on the ballot the measure to actually increase the TOT. Would increase it from 12.5% to 13.5%, be a 1% increase. The ballot measure is, the wording is before you, and the question is whether you're happy with the wording and prepared to go forward and adopt the resolution which would put it on the November ballot.
Very good. And there are handouts revising this that were given to us at the beginning of the meeting in the yellow folder.
The prior wording said that to increase the tax 1%. So there's some ambiguity as whether you're increasing a tax of a certain amount by 1%, 1% times what the tax is, or whether you're increasing the rate by 1%. In other words, going from 12.5% to 13.5%, which is a 1% increase. So the revised wording tries to clarify that ambiguity.
So the revised wording on 21C is the wording we're looking at, is that correct?
Right.
Thank you. What's before you, council, is indeed 2 resolutions. One adopting language, and one is dealing for the calling of the special election. Okay? Madam Clerk, do you want discussions here about ballot arguments?
Yes. Well, I want 2 things. On the question, it has been suggested that some of that wording be changed.
The language in there indicating allocating the revenue to the city general fund expenditures, I think that's surplusage. I mean, I'm not quite sure why that wording would be in there. We're just increasing the tax rate, and I'm not sure language in there suggesting how the city is going to spend the money is appropriate.
It doesn't define how, it just says it's going to go to the general fund.
Yeah.
Is it your recommendation to strike that "and" through
Yes.
expenditures?
Mm-hmm.
And just say percentage point, parenthetically 1%, be adopted.
Yes,
Right.
with the
Again,
rate.
21C I'm referring to.
Increasing the tax rate by 1 percentage point.
Comma,
Be
be adopted.
Be adopted.
So strike and allocating the revenues to the city general fund expenditures.
Right.
Council okay with that?
That's fine.
The other question, in terms of the ballot measures, if you're ready to talk about that, basically, the city council, if the council members choose to sign on to the ballot measures, that would preempt anybody else from submitting a measure on that side of the question. So if the council would want to authorize the members of its legislative body to submit an argument in favor of this measure, then the council members could submit that argument and would, whichever members were in favor of that could have their signatures on that argument.
Okay, two questions. Inasmuch as Councilmember Hodges is not here tonight, is she able to join us if a phone call is placed to her residence? Can she add her name? Or must she be here to take the action?
Well, the city council, by adopting the resolution, could authorize her to include her name. Now, if she ended up choosing not to sign the measure, she just doesn't have to sign it. The resolution is an action by the legislative body to authorize its members. It does not compel them to do so.
All right, so we authorize them, and then we could each decide at that point whether to sign on or not.
Right.
Right.
Okay? Second question.
But wouldn't that automatically include all council members?
Well, it's up to you. When you adopt the resolution, whatever names you put on the list are the ones who are authorized.
We've made that decision before.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have a second question?
That's it.
I have a second question.
Go ahead. You get to go now.
Thank you, Mr. Roden. I think you've clarified that, so we're going to decide that it is the members of the council that will have this side of the argument. If members of the community wanted to join us, they cannot join us.
That's correct. If the city council members decided not to submit an official argument on behalf of the city council, and you left it open, then council members could join with a group of citizens and sign a ballot measure and submit it. And the city clerk, if there were multiple submissions, the city clerk chooses which of the submitted items to include as the argument.
The question I'm posing before the council is that although we may have support for it, there may be other members in the hospitality industry that would like to join us as signers of the ballot argument in favor. And if we take action tonight, it is the 5 of us or less, but it would not be able to be anyone else. So how do we afford the opportunity of the hoteliers to place their name on there? I mean, do we have to take action tonight to determine the ballot argument, or can that be left for a period of time to come back in a week's time so we can ask the hoteliers if they want to join us? Council, what are your thoughts?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Roden.
I certainly would think that with all the support that they have given, that they would want to participate, if not draft the arguments, and we could sign on to them.
By what date do you need the argument? What
Tricia's
date do you
saying
need us to take
she needs
action?
the actual argument by the 19th.
So if we were to bring this forward at next week's meeting.
Right.
And had the names of those members of the hospitality community that wanted to join our signatures to have more than just the council, but to represent them, we could have that done in a week's time.
Well, just to clarify, if you went out there and you talked to members of the hospitality industry and they want to join in this, then what you would do is you would not adopt a resolution.
We could adopt the language, could we not?
No, you would not take an action. You, with the members of that group, would submit an argument. If somebody else chooses to submit an argument, then the city clerk chooses. If you adopt this resolution and specify the council, then nobody else is,
So it would be unwise
Trump.
to adopt the language if we have not adopted the signatures on the argument. So we should forestall both actions until we have discussions with our hospitality partners.
Well, okay. The resolution adopting the language is a separate measure, and you can go ahead and adopt that resolution.
Again, if we adopt the measure, do we then run the risk of having someone else compile the argument without us?
No, because you have until you could come back and adopt the resolution, as long as you do it before the 16th, that authorizes the council to submit the arguments.
All right, then I would recommend that we do that action. We take action on the language, or do you wish to go before them, the hospitality community, and say, how do you like the language? Do you want us to change it? Bring them the whole package.
Yes, I think we should take them.
Well, let's just do that then. Let's just continue this until we have next week a special meeting scheduled. We're going to have a special meeting scheduled. Perhaps I can recommend to the council through a motion that we continue this for 1 week, affording us the opportunity to get the language and those members of the hospitality community that wish to join us to have their names added to the list of people that want to sign on. I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Oden.
Mr. Mayor, just for discussion
Sir.
purposes. It states in the language, and I know we're not adopting it, but maybe it's something that could be worked on while we're looking at this, the other aspect of this. It says, on persons staying at group meeting hotels generally defined as hotels with more than 125 rooms. Is there somewhere else that describes what a group meeting hotel is in the Muni Code? Or I just don't like ordinances with the terms generally used in them because they usually come back to haunt us. So
I think one of the
Tom
concerns.
put his finger up like he knows
Yeah.
he knows the answer, but
All right, let's see what Tom Kennar knows.
Yes, Mr. Mills, there's specific language in the transient occupancy tax ordinance that defines who is a group meeting hotel, and it has several criteria. The most common one, most of the hotels that choose that designation do have more than 125 rooms, but there's movement on either side. You could have a hotel larger than that chooses not to be in the group, and you can have a hotel that's smaller if they have meeting facilities that chooses to be in it, and so it's fairly pretty much at the option of the hotel, but there are specific criteria in the ordinance.
The problem is that when you actually take that language out of the ordinance, because of these other caveats that Tom mentioned, it gets to be sort of a convoluted definition. So I think by wording it more simply, perhaps somewhat more ambiguously, we're simply trying to communicate the idea that not all hotels are group meeting hotels. It also has that caveat, in which accommodate large groups. That's kind of getting across the concept. If we were to take the actual language, it's 4 or 5 lines long just dealing with that definition.
okay, I was just posing the question.
Yeah.
It's a good question.
Good
though.
question.
Okay, then we're going to continue this until next week. The motion on the floor, all those in favor say aye. 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 Any opposed? So moved. Item 22 has been withdrawn due to a lack of quorum. Under item 23, are there any additional legislative items, sir?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. It is actually an added starter.
All right, bring it. Nature of it and the reason for the added starter.
Mr. Mayor, this is an added starter that comes before you. It was a matter that has arisen subsequent to the posting of the agenda. It is a letter from Supervisor Roy Wilson requiring a response by Tuesday, July 15th, and I was requesting that it be added to the agenda.
Council, what's your pleasure?
So moved.
Motion to add by Mr. Mills and second by Mr. Oden. Is that what that was? Yeah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, seeing none, 4-0. We had a meeting with Supervisor Wilson, the mayors and the city managers on Monday, the quarterly meeting, I guess it was, David. And Roy was asking for one more chance to look at the Coachella Valley Regional Animal Campus concept. And although we've taken positions in the past of not wanting to join, he is asking that we give him something in writing that says, again, we do not formally wish to join the Valley-wide Animal Campus. Inasmuch as we got this Monday, and he wants it by Tuesday the 15th, there's 2 things before you. You can take action tonight and say, we don't want to do it. Or if you feel as though there's some change in your thinking, Mr. Reddy is prepared to bring you something next Wednesday based on what information you may need to make a decision. But he needs a little direction.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Oden.
have the circumstances changed since our last discussion?
Actually, Mr. Oden, Councilman Oden, the circumstances have changed somewhat on their side in terms of the numbers. And of course, since we've been through our budget process, the numbers indeed have changed on our side in terms of both our ability to build our new animal shelter certainly in the next fiscal year, or the foreseeable future, and of course, in our operational costs and what we have found that we need to do to keep our operation going. So yes, the number have changed on both sides. So if council did want an update, we could do that at the study session next week.
So the question is, what do you want to do? Mr. Reddy is ready to do, prepared to do whatever you want.
Well, I think if we have new information, we should agendize it and have him bring it to us.
Other members of the council, thoughts, questions?
I agree.
You need much time for that presentation?
What we will do is, we're going to have the citizen survey on next week. That's an issue that isn't as timely. We can move that to the second or third meeting in July because we have an extra meeting, and we can add this to the agenda next week.
I might suggest you keep the citizen survey on the agenda. If it falls out to a late hour and we don't wish to go forward, we can just continue it. But I think we can leave it on there. This may go quickly.
Okay.
I mean, if it's there and we have time to do it, fine. If not, we want to cut short, we can cut our losses and go home early. Okay? Just to keep the progression of stuff moving. On this one, we're going to take this then for next week. You want this on the special meeting then, because you have to take action to authorize a letter. Right?
Yes.
Okay?
So we'd have to do the special meeting afterward if we're going to take action then.
Well, we could sequence the special meeting up front and then do the study session on the backside, right? Madam Clerk saying yes. You'd have the report on this during the special meeting,
Okay.
right?
Right.
This would be agendized on special meeting because it may require action. One way or the other, you're gonna have to write a letter. Yes or no, thumbs up, thumbs down. So we gotta take a vote. We'll go to special meeting? Okay. You need a vote on that one? Council?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Mills and second by Mr. Oden to bring this back for the special meeting next week so we can take action and write a letter to Supervisor Wilson one way or the other.
Okay.
And Mr. Reddy Staff will prepare all the necessary information. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? 4-0 unanimous. And under reports and requests, council, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Oden.
I would like to, for us to agendize 2 items. One would be Quail Point, and the second would be the taxi issue came before us, and we talked about it, and we could get that on the agenda. And I would also like some clarification. Mr. Reddy, I received some information, rumor, what have you, about a car that was purchased for the assistant city manager and that it was put into a place. And could you just clarify that for me, please?
Sure, I'd be happy to, Council Member Oden. First of all, the Assistant City Manager's vehicle came from the police department, and with the idea that at some point it would ultimately have to go back. It's a high-mileage vehicle, and it's running out of its useful life. However, because of the budget problems that we had, I had made the decision that we'd probably keep that vehicle longer than normal, and the complement of vehicles that we did purchase this year would, the new vehicle, I think it was a small complement. They would go into the police department to be used as needed because I think we had a grant program. And actually, to answer that question specifically, I'd ask Chief Gendron to come to the microphone and tell you specifically where that particular vehicle did go into the police department. And I think that will answer your question. Thank you.
Mr. Oden, the Explorer is going to come back into our fleet, and we're going to use it for the Family Intervention Officer. We haven't brought that matter before you, but if you remember, that was the grant that we received. We obtained $300,000 plus, and part of that grant was in some in-kind service. And what we offered up was we would supply the car, and this seemed like a perfect mix that we would take this Explorer and hand it off to the Family Intervention Officer because he's going to interact with PAL anyway. We can use it to transport family and kids, so it seemed like the vehicle would work for the Family Intervention.
Would you address the issue, do we purchase cars for the assistant city manager historically?
Since I've been here for 3 years, assistant city managers have always had a car. I can't speak to beyond that, but historically, assistant city manager and several other department heads have had vehicles.
at one point. Go ahead.
Wow, I didn't know any of this.
Thank you for the clarification.
What happened was that when Mr. Parkins retired, Mr. Fleechek became the acting city manager. And it was at that time we gave him a car while he was the acting city manager. When he continued as the acting city manager, he had a vehicle assigned to him. Mr. Reddy came on board, and we allowed Mr. Fleechek to continue the car because he was going towards retirement. So we allowed him to finish his retirement with the car. But traditionally, Mr. Fleechek did not have a car assigned to him. How do I know that? Because his car always had problems. Always had problems. And you get the other car out, which had its own set of problems, and then the other car. So he did not have a car assigned to him as the ACM. He got it as the acting, and then we allowed, by action we took, to let him complete the remainder of his time here, short as it was, with car. Does that seem to be what you recall? But traditionally, we had not assigned a car to the ACM.
So does that mean we set a precedence for the next acting city manager?
Well, that's something we have to discuss.
And we can't do it tonight because it's not agendized.
All right.
Additional requests by council.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mills.
Mr. Oden's request dealt with Quail Point. I really think there are a total of 4 projects that really it applies to, the discussion applies to, and that's Sunrise Palms, I think Desert Dorado, and I think there's 4. But I'm assuming Mr. Oden means all 4.
Yes, I do mean all of them. But they are the only ones that really have an organized group, though the action would cover all of them.
If I could have some clarification, on the taxi issues, we will agendize those on the docket?
That's fine.
Or do you suggesting bring those sooner?
Quail Point as soon as possible. The taxi cab issue, based upon whatever information you think is best.
When's your docket scheduled? Next week?
Well, next week, we would have it on the docket discussion at that point.
Yeah, you can't put it on next week, so put it on the docket. We can look
for
at all
next
these
week.
issues because there'll be more requests tonight, I'm sure.
I think
Yeah.
Okay.
We
Thank
can
you.
all sense the urgency on some of these issues, though. Okay?
Mr. Mayor, I spoke with the Secretary-Treasurer of the taxi organization today, and actually, she had called and wanted to have a meeting with me, and that is until August, and she isn't expecting this to be, us to even talk about it until September.
Okay. Again, you can place it on the docket for discussions, and we can calendar well into September, if that's okay with the council. Yeah, yeah. Other requests? You got, from my standpoint, the CVAG Animal Campus issue done. Again, I made comments last week regarding the Sunline audit issue. It is moving forward. I asked the council if they wish to have this brought forward and a presentation made by Sunline staff to give you a complete and thorough update. Otherwise, we can prepare a written packet for your review. I need some directions to how you want to go forward. I don't want to give the report. I think we should get that from a staff member.
Mr. Mayor, I think we should have the report before we decide whether or not we
Okay,
want a presentation.
I'll compile a written report of all the documents I've received thus far. Additionally, can I find out, if you want to put this on the docket or otherwise, but status of the Quimby Act, we were going to get back on that. There was a sense of urgency at the time I brought it forward, and I just see a lot of things on the horizon.
I saw that on the staff report that it's on the agenda for next week? For the week, yeah, 16th.
Members of council, that is on the agenda for the 16th for action. The 16th for action. However, there is some policy issues that council needs to be aware of that lend itself to study session discussion prior to council action on the 16th. If council wanted, we could agendize it next week for study session discussion. But again, I would need some council direction on that matter.
If you've got it scheduled for action in 2 weeks and we haven't seen it yet, I think you've got to blush at least it through a study session. I'm getting a nod from
Yeah, or we would have to have that discussion at the regular council meeting. So it's the pleasure of the body.
I think it's important that the issue, in my opinion, it is an urgent issue. Maybe that's the wrong word, but is a pressing issue. And I would certainly like to take care of it before August. So if that's what we need to do, then let's get it on for next week.
Bring it in next week for study, then in action in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
I ask for the consideration of the following. In the summer months, our town tends to have a greater availability of parking. Okay? And those of us who shop downtown, which is all of us, and visit downtown and eat downtown, see the little person driving around chalking tires. And it seemed a little more frustrating to me than normal that when there's so many open spaces, abundant spaces, to be doing the enforcement on a regular basis when there is not so much demand for moving cars along. I wonder if in fact there's an ability for us to look at suspension of certain enforcement during the summer months. There's enough frustration going on. I just wonder if that's something we can bring up.
Actually, Mayor, if I may, that issue is already been agendized for next week in conjunction with Jerry Ogburn's discussions he's had with Main Street. That issue actually is agendized for next week.
Very good. I appreciate that.
What time's the meeting start next week?
It did originally have 2 items on it, Jeannie.
Okay.
If I could get, Mr. Mayor?
Sure, Mr.
If I could get some clarification on what's being agendized regarding the parking, exactly?
Mr. Ogburn had requested that we look at summer hours for parking enforcement. And obviously, it's a major policy question, and it lends itself to a study session discussion. And the long and short of it is the discussion will be made, the request will be made if we want to, in essence, suspend parking during certain days of the week during summertime.
Weekday versus weekend.
Weekdays versus weekend.
This is scheduled already for Mr. Roden to present next week?
For Mr. Ogburn will present it next week, yes.
Mr. Ogburn. Let's see if we can do this, Ron.
I will be
I asked for
making
your
that.
forbearance. I know it's been used once tonight. I asked for a little more.
If I could also get a copy of their contract, I'd like to take a
Who's
look
that?
at it.
The parking
Enforcement? Yes.
enforcement?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, you
Thank
can issue that to all of us, I think.
Cool.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Mills.
Also, if we could add on our list of reports, not for next week, not for even this month necessarily, but a report on the current status and goals, I guess you'd say, of what we call the homeless task force. I wonder where they are and what their status is at this point. They've kind of. I mean, I know they're meeting, my understanding is there's a bit of frustration on their part as well. So, since they are our task force, I think it might be well served to. Are they our task force?
Point of clarification, they are not a city task force. They are not appointed by us, nor governed by us, nor regulated. They are a task force of citizens and business owners.
So it's not appointed by us?
No, sir.
Okay, well.
You can still ask them what they're doing, but they're not ours. We have no control over them.
Well, that's true. But we did request information and assign them a task.
True.
And perhaps we should review that and make a determination, whether or not they have fulfilled their obligation to us at this point.
Understood.
Okay.
I don't question their benefit nor value. I just want to clarify they're not a task force assigned by us.
Okay.
So they have no obligation to respond to us, nor we have any control over them. But they are a very cooperative and helpful group. There's no
Yes.
denying that. Okay? Any other city council reports or requests? Item 24 is the filing of the 20 nuisance abatement proceedings and accounting reports and setting hearing for July 30th. You need action on this, Madam Clerk?
No, when you receive and file this, you're actually authorizing me to set the hearing.
Okay, you want a motion to receive and file? All right, motion by Mr. Mills to receive and file, a second by
Second.
Ms. Rella Spurgeon. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? 4-0. Any public reports or requests? Any staff reports or requests?
There are none, sir.
All right, here's our schedule. Apparently, we have our next regularly scheduled meeting on July 16th at 7 o'clock. Next week, we have a study session on July 9th, along with a special council meeting on July 9th, both scheduled at 7 o'clock, and all of these meetings will be preceded by closed sessions in the small conference room at 5:30. It is now 9:42, seeing no further business before the council. We'll stand adjourned. What was that? Good. All right, we'll bring you up. We have public requests. Go ahead. We move fast at the end. You can see that. Yeah, we started at 5:30. We're a little tired, huh? Good evening. Give your name to the city clerk. You have 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Bridget Oleg. I'm the president of Bodo Technology International. I moved to Palm Springs 4 years ago and brought my technical writing business here because I was attracted to the higher quality of life, including the friendly people, slower pace, diverse community, natural beauty, and most of all, peace and quiet. Initially, life here was quite enjoyable. However, at some point, our peaceful neighborhood became inundated with unbearable noise, and life here has become very tense and stressful. The main source of this noise emanates from the condominium complex bordering our neighborhood, which is called Waverly Park. Nearly every weekday, their gardeners use incredibly loud lawnmowers, hedge trimmers, weed whackers, and leaf blowers. The noise is so extreme we cannot carry on conversations in our yards and sometimes use earplugs in our houses. So I began paying attention to their work and realized that the gardeners take absolutely no steps to minimize this level of noise. I've even witnessed them using leaf blowers in strong winds and mowing and blowing on rainy days. This noise should be categorized as a nuisance. I then took a day off of work to ask the neighbors if they were also bothered by the noise. I visited 21 households and 18 were willing to sign a petition asking the condos to reduce this level of noise. In addition to retirees who are home all week, my neighbors include accountants, real estate agents, writers, and others like myself who have home-based businesses. We all desire a quiet atmosphere. Based on this input, I wrote a friendly letter to the property management company addressing our concerns and asking to attend a homeowners association meeting. I was shocked to receive a letter from their attorneys stating they weren't breaking the noise ordinance and that I could not attend their meeting. After obtaining a copy of the noise ordinance, I contacted the Palm Springs Code Enforcement for assistance. Initially, I was told the condominiums committed to making their noise only 2 times a week. I was willing to make this compromise. However, the next week they were gardening 4 days a week. So I called Code Enforcement. After 3 weeks, I got a hold of them, and they told me there was nothing they could do since the condos were within the noise ordinance. I then requested on several occasions that they come and measure it and prove, since I've had all these claims that they were within the noise ordinance, but nobody will come out and measure it. I was told that my own measurement would not count, since I'm not an engineer. I'm deeply concerned with this lack of support by my new city, my new home. I've even asked the property management company to check the mufflers on their equipment. They refuse. I've suggested the use of quieter equipment. The College of the Desert uses leaf blowers that are nearly silent so they don't disturb the students, and I believe the residents in our communities deserve the same consideration. My goal is to improve the quality of life in our neighborhood and achieve the peaceful atmosphere that is the image of Palm Springs. My neighbors and I would really appreciate your help in finding a good solution to this problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I apologize for moving so quickly. You want that slower pace, I'll give it to you tonight. Anyone else wishing to address the council? I won't change it.
That was close. My name is Teresa Redderson, and I live in the same neighborhood as the speaker before me. Up until I bought my home in 1994, and it was the high-density residential area was always across the street. No problem for 5 years. New board, new landscapers, and it has been terrible. I've gone the same route as Brigitte. Separately, we did not know that each one of us was doing this. So why is this happening? In May 1991, the City Council ordinanced the hours from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. for operating leaf blowers in residential zones. However, the council also, quote, made an ordinance against itself, unquote, from the minutes. This is Ordinance 1383, prohibiting the council from having any authority during those controlled hours over the use of leaf blowers and over the use of, quote, any such equipment. Throughout the city, boundary high-density zone homeowners control the use of powered landscape machines and any such equipment, operating them 6 days a week, any time of day, any duration of time, and ignoring boundary low-density zone members' appeals for consideration. Excuse me. When boundary low-density homeowners appealed to the city, the city says it can do nothing. As a result, boundary low density zone homeowners, one, have little daytime use of their homes. No one has ever been able to answer my question, when may I have people for lunch, Monday through Friday, Monday through Saturday? We live with anyway, I wrote an amendment proposal and a package, gave a copy to Mr. Evans, who in turn gave it to Mr. Duckworth. I also sent a copy to Mr. Voss, and I have 5 copies with me.
Great.
Okay,
To
thank
the
you.
city clerk, lead in the red dress.
I'll
and
get my other copies,
And she'll distribute us. Thank you.
and the address is on here.
Anyone else? Last chance. Seeing no one, will close those public comments. Again, it is now 9:48. Seeing no further business before the council, we'll stand adjourned. Thank you and good night.